What's up and welcome to FPL Today. I'm your host JNO. Welcome to the channel and welcome to the FPL transfer window in association with FPL Updates, your website for hints, tips and articles around the Fantasy Premier League. And if you want estimated prices for these players I'm going to talk about in the FPL transfer window, make sure to click the link in the description down below to my article about the estimated prices for these players when the game is released around July 10th. So today we have a couple of transfers for both Bournemouth and Huddersfield to discuss, as well as a transfer to Everton. Nothing as major as Mohamed Salah or Bernardo Silva, but all players that could have a good impact on our Fantasy Premier League season. So that is why we're going to cover them. And we're starting off with Bournemouth, and they have managed to sign two new players. The first one being Jermain Defoe from Sunderland to Bournemouth on a free transfer. Now we all know how good a striker Jermain Defoe is and how great his record is in the Premier League, so him going to a club like Bournemouth to link up with the likes of Joshua King, Junior Stanislas and their quite attacking defence is very, very promising for the Fantasy Premier League. Now we've got to remember when we look at Jermain Defoe's stats now, this was for a Sunderland team that were absolutely shocking last season, so if he can join a team that are anything better than Sunderland, these stats should improve. Now last season in 2016-2017 season, he played in 37 games, only missing out on one fixture. He managed to get 15 goals in total as well as 2 assists. Shots per game was at 2.7, shots per game inside the box was at 1.8 and his key passes at 0.5. Not the best key passes, but you know what you're getting with Defoe. You're getting a poacher. Man of the matches again 0, and his average rating was only 6.58. But it's those goals that we look for with Jermain Defoe, and I think Bournemouth are definitely a more creative side than Sunderland were last season, and Bournemouth are strengthening their side as well. So this could be a huge acquisition depending on the price it comes in at. And if you want to know what price I think is going to come in at, remember that link in the description down below to my FPL Updates article. The second signing that Bournemouth have made is Nathan Ake from Chelsea to Bournemouth for 20 million. Now this seems a lot, but obviously Bournemouth do think highly of this youngster from Chelsea. They did loan him out last season and all of his stats are from his time with Bournemouth because Chelsea called him back for some reason and then never played him, which really irked a lot of Fantasy Premier League managers last season. But Nathan Ake can be a very good acquisition for Bournemouth. Whether he plays at left back or defensive midfield is yet to be found because they do have a pretty set back four at Bournemouth, so we don't know if he's an improvement on their left back. I think it's Charlie Daniels that usually plays there, but I could be wrong. Or if they're looking for a more defensive-minded midfielder just to sit in front of that defence, which means he could be an out-of-position option depending on how much freedom he's given to get forward. In the 2016-2017 season for Bournemouth, he had 8 appearances. He managed to get 3 goals in those 8 appearances, which isn't too bad. Shots per game was at 0.6 and his key passes was only at 0.3, so nothing outstanding there. His man of the match awards, he managed to get 1 and an average rating of 7.20. So he's definitely someone we have to keep an eye on. If he's going to be a major impact depends on his positioning and how he's allowed to play by Eddie Howe, but he's definitely one to keep an eye on. We then quickly are going to discuss a forward that has moved to Everton. Everton are very busy this transfer window, and I'm going to butcher this name, I apologise, but his name is Henry Onyekuru. Henry Onyekuru. Moving from the Jupiler League UPenn to Everton. Now we don't know what the transfer fee is, it's undisclosed, and we don't have much stats on him. Even who scored doesn't have many stats on him. So all we know about this guy is he had 10 appearances last season and managed to score 11 goals, which that's a good return. That's over a goal a game. Whether he can transfer that over from the Jupiler League to the Premier League, that's a big jump. Jupiler League, the Belgian league, of course, has given us some great youngsters like Eden Hazard, for example, but whether this player can come in, especially as I haven't heard of him before, which means there's not been much hype around him like, say, a Tillemans. Will he do well? That's to be seen, but I'd imagine he'd come in as a cheap option. So if he's the only striker that they bring in, Everton, and Lukaku does move, maybe he might be worth a punt, but definitely keep an eye on him in pre-season. We then have a transfer to Huddersfield as Huddersfield start making their moves in the transfer window, and we have a loan transfer of Jonas Lossl from Mainz in Germany to Huddersfield. And with a team like Huddersfield, we want to know how many saves per game does this guy make. If he is capable of making a lot of saves in a game, he could be getting us a lot of save points for a cheap price. Could be this season's Tom Heaton, who knows. But the stats we do have on him, he's had 27 appearances, save per game at 3.2, which isn't too bad, 3.2 saves per game. I'd imagine that could go up depending on who Huddersfield are playing. So potentially he could be the next Tom Heaton or Jack Butland or so many other options that we have. However, there's rumours that FPL won't be putting goalkeepers at 5.5 million at the start of the season. If that is the case, Jonas Lossl may not be an option at all, because you may just look for one of the good goalkeepers at 5 million, pick him, and then just pick another cheaper option. So this may have changed the game a bit if that is true, but we'll see when the game is released on July 10th. And then the final transfer of this episode, another transfer by Huddersfield. They've paid 8 million to Man City for Aaron Mooy. Or Mooy? Right, let's just accept the fact that I don't know how to say his name. Maybe I should have looked it up. In fact, you know what? I will look it up. Mooy. Like Moyes. Mooy. Okay. Alright. So let's start that again. And the final transfer of today's episode is Huddersfield spending 8 million, giving it to Man City for Aaron Mooy. Now, Aaron Mooy played for Huddersfield last season on loan, has some decent stats from his time in the Championship, which is why Huddersfield have snapped him up for 8 million. And those stats are as follows: 45 appearances in total, he had 4 goals and 7 assists. Now, that's not bad, but that is out of 45 games in total. Shots per game is at 1.4, his key passes is at 2.1, his man of the match rating is at 2. His average rating was at 7.08 in total. Now, for me, Huddersfield need to improve the players around Aaron Mooy before we can consider him as an FPL option. That is my own personal take on it. However, he could be a good option as a 5th midfielder depending on what transfer price he comes in at. And as usual, if you want to know what transfer price I think he might come in at, go and check out the FPL updates article in the description down below. Anyway guys, there we have it for today's FPL transfer window. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like button, it helps me out so much. Also hit that notification button if you want to know when an FPL video is live on FPL Today. Subscribe if you're new, and check out my Patreon if you want to support the channel. And also check out my Teespring link down below with the official FPL Today t-shirt. With all that being said, I've been JNO, this has been FPL Today, and remember, it's all about the game.